rhymes through. That's why I'm all times two. Half-past despicable, last man to bring it through. Fast raps, a critical stack, analytical slap. I'm hitting.
Mic check. Oh yeah.
You smack, I'm sticking you smack lips to stack tips, all with the lyrical technique. For party crashes, liquor spilling mayhem. Punk cops to play them, super bitches to slay them. It's all serious biz, no time remains for the cattle defecation. You spitting right in this brain, what the
Thank you so much for hitting play on episode 63 of Breakup Gaming Society, home to America's least responsible board game podcast. Well, what we do here is a very simple structure. Booze, board games, and hip-hop, with maybe a few laughs along the way. A few. I am your host and friend, the Great Unclean One, so let's get down to it. Here's what you can look forward to, or regret having listened to later. Drink of the week. Have you ever, fallen victim to, a seasonal preference and return to a kind of drink you'd abandoned years ago because you decided you didn't like it, and then you came back and realized, I do like this. I did. So for my last few sessions, my jam has been buying a nice creamy stout and pairing it with an affordable whiskey back, a bourbon to be specific. I'm going to turn you on to a recent 1-2 punch that knocked me out in every sense of the word. Game of the week. One of my side quests for 2023 is learning how to game marshal a session of Frontier Scum. What's Frontier Scum? I think I featured it last episode or the one before when I first got the book and sort of did an overview of it. It's a Mork Borg-based tabletop role-playing game set in a comically bleak version of the Old West. What was the first step for me? Making characters. So I'm going to introduce you to these 3 characters I made, and also tell you why I think the mechanical principles of this game appeal so much more to me than does, the mindset and approach of the big, obvious Dragon franchise game that everybody plays. That is inescapable. Track of the week. I'm going to explore the transformative magic of the remix or mashup that synergizes better with the rapper's vocals. Matter of fact, does it so well that it fires the original. We're going to hear a few selections of a Biggie classic over an Eric B. and Rakim beat, and a couple of other instances I'm going to just talk about in my listening career where I found a remix or a mashup that completely obviated the album version, at least for me. So if you're all comfortable, sit down, carefully open that nitro can of stout over the sink, please. And let's do Drink of the Week.
I've been through hard times too. The situation's a man. I bring the hard rhymes through. That's why I'm all times two. Half-past despicable, last man to bring it through. Fast raps, a critical stack, analytical slap. I'm hitting.
So I hit this point midwinter where even my standard brown liquor craving, which usually gives way to vodka once peak summer heat sets in, I got bored with it, and I went back to an old standby of a beer and a shot, with life-giving stouts in this instance. Now, over the course of several weekends, I rotated quite a few stouts around, an anchor of Jim Beam Devil's Cut. Why? It's reasonably priced, and it's a decent sipper. Down here in Trinidad, Colorado, a lot of the mid-price bottles that I would look for in a larger city are very expensive here. So I was like, I see something for under $25, and I know I'm going to be spending another $18 on a decent 6-pack of stout. I've been getting I got the bargain bourbon, or the slightly marketed upscale bargain bourbon, Jim Beam Devil's Cut. Down South Colorado, we are at the tail end of multiple supply chains, and it just gets spendy. So, but I didn't skip on the accompaniments, which included, more than once got a 6-pack of Left Hand Milk Stout. Good, sweet, and dependable Colorado product. Always a safe choice when I can't make up my mind. I just stop looking and I grab some Left Hand. 2, can't go wrong with this either. Guinness Nitro cans. I tore through a case of them since January. 3, Murphy's Stout cans. This was a new one for me. This was a big surprise because for the body and the creaminess and the distribution of velvety bubbles, it kicked the shit out of Guinness. Now, I still like the flavor of Guinness a bit better, but Murphy's was doing something right when they canned that batch. And of course, the big discovery. Had a fun night with Dragon's Milk Bourbon Barrel-Aged White Stout. A sip and shot of Jim Beam Devil's Cut Back. It was actually my first time in a long time shelling out for a craft beer. So, I don't know what's up with the trend. Stouts can be white now? I guess so. I didn't expect a lot pouring it out of the can, but it was extremely tasty. Now, as a pairing with a sugary liquor like bourbon, maybe it's too much sweet on top of sweet. But it was a nice surprise. It was smooth as silk, and the bourbon barrel flavor felt well balanced to me. I remember the night I bought it, I ran into a local homie at the bar, and I told him, I've got some Devil's Cut Dragon's Milk in the car, and he was welcome to come out to the homestead and attack it with me. And he was really dismissive. He was like, Dragon's Milk? Yeah, it sounds like some kind of Game of Thrones bullshit. And you know what? I'm glad he declined. Because I went home and had a minor epiphany during the first can. Then I finished off the 4-pack, and it was delicious, and I felt great. And you know what? Dude's not invited over for the next 4-pack either. Let's do Game of the Week.
I've been through hard times too. The situation demand I bring the hard rhymes through. That's why I'm raw times too.
Do you want to meet some scum? Because you're about to. In service of learning, eventually, I hope, how to run a good session of Frontier Scum, a Morkborg-based Western RPG, I made some characters. And I felt at home with this game immediately. One of the reasons being it completely removes the expectation that you're going to be some big hero or you're going to be some super interesting, quirky something or other. You can be interesting and quirky, but I guess what I'm saying, at the risk of sounding elitist, but honestly, I've eavesdropped on lots of D&D games, and I talk to D&D players about their sessions, and I listen to D&D people on Twitter. And the fact of it is, I think unless you can leave a lot of yourself behind when you cross the proscenium of the stage from regular life into the game, I don't think that many people are... I honestly think 75% of the people who are playing D&D should just be playing board games. Play Descent, or there are lots of other things where there's drama and it's evocative of a story and you have a character that's yours, but you only have to worry about it for 2.5 hours. Not, I don't know, go into a black depression because your umpteenth level tiefling whatever got killed and you saw it as a projection of your precious self. But the fact is, the proposition Frontier Scum puts before you is you're not that interesting and you're not that special and you're probably going to die really fast. With that in mind, they set up a really cool character creation system for what kind of scum you're going to be. Now here's some things on the dashboard that don't move. Every character that comes into the game starts with a bounty on their head and on the run. Every session you're going to be in danger of a bounty hunter or someone else wanting to collect that because of something you did. You start with a handful of wild things. Everybody gets a gun and a stolen quadruped of some kind. But some of the other stuff you get can be really random to the point of useless, which really evokes this, here you are out on these wind-stripped plains trying to do your best before the jaws close in. And I like that proposition. It sort of removes the I'm going to be a big hero thing. Yeah, 'cause chances are you're probably going to die. And serving the mordant, inherent gallows humor of the game is more important than bonsaiing your precious other self into glory. So what happens? So I made 3 characters. It's weird because despite what I said earlier, I haven't played a single scene with them, and I'm already kind of attached to them just because. And I also want to thank Carl Druid, the maker of the game, because I have not played a lot of indie TTRPGs deeply, and I got stuck on some things that I think are obvious to people who do. Dang, if old Carl out there in Sweden wasn't very responsive to some of my questions about how do I do this. So let's meet some scum. You may not hear of them again because there are no levels in this game. There's 2 levels. Basically, you're alive or you're dead. And so let's meet number 1. So first of all, my first one is Clancy Valentine, a.k.a. Bull Rider. Now, Clancy, as it says here, is a former ranch hand. Now, this is very easy. When you roll your class at the beginning, I think you throw a d12, and you're one of 12 bedraggled former professions. Clancy is a ranch hand that says she has an appetite for danger and cropped ears, which if you ever seen or heard anybody in an old gritty western get called crop ear, it's because somebody just, snipped their pinna, like the whole outer part of the ear off. So Clancy's just got some welts of scars there where the ears were. 100 silver reward wanted for casual theft. 4 categories of abilities: grit, slick, wits, and luck. Now all you do is figure out what your modifier is on a d20 roll. So again, thanks to Carl here, he walked me through this. You roll a d4 once, and then you roll a d4 a second time, and you subtract the second result from the first one, and it tells you how good you are at skills. And there's a lot of narrative leeway for the DM to decide which skills get applied in what situations. You roll a d6 for hit points. So right now, Clancy has 2 hit points, and if you look at some of the weapons and things that happen to you, you can get snuffed fast. But that's life. That's life. I picked a tweed newsboy for their hat, and there's an important thing in here. This game is brutal enough where the game gives you an out in terms of if something's about to just completely blow you out of the water, you can throw away your hat to sort of get a second lease on life. They have a whip and a canteen on their belt. In their pockets, 6 silver, 10 cigarettes, and some rifle rounds. On the back, a repeater rifle. That was a good roll for me. And then, owing to their profession, 15-foot length of barbed wire. Hopefully that comes in handy. Now, there was a really neat part where you determine your skills, because rather than just giving you the skill when you roll on the table, you get a prompt that tells you the situation in which you got the skill. What happens is, with Clancy is I think, it says you acquired the skill when you had the best day of your life and a war. And so, and sort of a backstory will form around this as you determine the skills. So Clancy's special unique skills are odds and betting, owing to the fact that when they still were a ranch hand, it was not unheard of for them to arrange fights in some of the bullpens, and knowing who was more likely to knock the other one out. And then the second skill is I picked. The table said this is a skill you acquired when branding a cow that you shouldn't have been branding. So I'm like, what's a good skill for that? So I picked first aid, specifically as it pertains to blunt force trauma, meaning, more than once, maybe Clancy themselves or one of their colleagues caught a hind leg from an unwilling steer, and Clancy kind of has a talent for that. And then for the last one, I can't remember what the prompt was. Clancy is also a brandy connoisseur, owing to the fact that at their last job, they were quite cozy with the baron who owned the ranch land and would get invited to drink and sample brandy in the ranch house and got quite knowledgeable about it. These are things which might make for interesting stories. So that's Clancy. Oh, Clancy also has a gray riding horse. Stolen, of course. The horse is named the Goods DeVos, and they make you roll for what the animal likes, and this is going to create some interesting situations. It says the animal likes peace and quiet. So they're probably... Oh, and I forgot the most foundational part. I rolled on the table. There's no alive part of the bounty on Clancy. They're wanted dead. Good luck, Clance. Number 2 is Chastity Boom Boom Kewatsana. Chastity is a carcass trapper with morals for sale and 14 bullet scars. Wanted dead or alive, 90 silver reward. And wanted for what I invented was a profligate gunplay. Has excellent modifiers with tests relating to the slick ability. Wits and luck are neutral, and grit, -2 modifier. So not physically tough, 3 hit points. Chastity wears a Nevada-style cowboy hat, has a canteen on her belt. In her pockets, she has 10 silver rifle ammo, and for some reason, 60 animal teeth. Maybe that will prove valuable in a trade at some point. Who knows? Being a carcass trapper, the skills are I picked based on the situational cues: trap setting, hiding one's tracks, and third one is impersonating family. One thing Chastity used to do as a kid who was more or less grew up on the streets was learning how to show up fairly presentable at a funeral and present herself as some distant cousin of the deceased so that they could get at the food at the wake. Okay? On her back, she's got a mangy fur, which doesn't sound too attractive, but it says here it cuts damage by 1. An umbrella, okay, and a repeater rifle. Has a gray racehorse. That's the best animal you can roll for, named Abbott Legs. And it says here, what the heck? Oh, Abbott Legs' favorite thing to do is chewing boots. So there you go. That's Chastity Boom Boom Kewatsana and her horse Abbott. Then there's the first character I made, wanted dead or alive, reward 50 silver, is Alfred Montaigne, a.k.a. Splinters. Why Splinters? Well, he's a hot-tempered undertaker with wooden teeth, wanted for wanton defenestration. Now, I rolled on the chart to come up with the amount of the reward, but I decided to be a little creative with wanton. As you know, defenestration means pitching something out a window. The reason Alfred's on the run is because, as an undertaker, he got sideways with a family that had multiple stiffs in his morgue, and they got sideways about the payment, and Alfred, being hot-tempered and not thinking ahead, threw all the bodies out the second-story window of his business and into the mud on the street. Turned out this family was violent and well-connected, so now he's on the run for wanton defenestration. Subpar grit and slick and neutral wits and luck. Well, what's he got on his head? I decided Alfred was going to be the type to sport a bowler hat. His skills are whittling, which makes sense. He can make stuff out of wood. He made his own teeth. Strangulation is his second skill. Why strangulation? The prompt was, this was a skill you acquired when reburying the stubborn. I mean, someone wasn't dead yet, so I figured, maybe somebody thought was dead rises up off the table and starts cussing at you. Well, you don't want a fuss, and you want to make sure you get that payday. So I'm going to say that if Alfred ever gets in melee and he gets the chance to get his hands around your windpipe, he's going to lock on pretty good. And owing to the fact that he used to be in graveyards where he'd have to hide from ghouls, remaining hidden and quiet for long periods of time is among his skills. On his belt, he has a carved femur and a canteen, has a sawed-off shotgun on his back. And in his pockets, he has a makeup kit with 3 uses, a chocolate bar, and shotgun shells. His mount is a gray donkey. His name's Stompy Gales, and Stompy likes a daily bath. So maybe there's some parts where if, he gets distracted by an adventure and forgets to give Stompy his bath, maybe some things will start going wrong for Alfred. So there you go, Alfred Montaigne, Boom Boom Kewatsana, and Clancy Valentine. Those are my first 3 characters from Dead Belt. Now, I did do a very short GM session for this, where I just sort of see if I could narrate or guide a fight. Did a quick 20-minute scenario with a friend of mine in town who was kind of pinched for time, but it gave me a better sense of how things are going. Plus, there's a subreddit for Dead Belt where a very small community chimes in quick when I have questions. And then plus, again, I want to thank the creator, Carl Druid, for being a responsive dude whenever I hit something in the beautiful rule book that just doesn't make sense. But there you go. I've created 3 characters for Dead Belt. They're probably not going to last. Don't get attached to them. Here comes Track of the Week.
I've been through hard times too. The situation demand I bring the hard rhymes through.
Hey, it's the Great Unclean One, welcoming you back for Track of the Week. And this is just something I've noticed. I keep noticing these instances where over the last 20, 30 years of listening to hip-hop, there'll be a remix or a mashup of a track where the reinterpretation is so good that I never want to hear the original again. Example number 1. I love Third Base's debut album. And they have a song in there called Product of the Environment. And, I listened to it when I had it on tape way back in 1989 or whatever. But I remember watching in living color. And Third Base came out and did the remix beat of that at the tail end of the show when they'd sometimes have an act on to, rap during the final credits. I don't think, since I was magnetized, I have not listened to the album original since. There's a Master Ace song, and I'm blanking on it. I think it's called The Ride. The song's about having stereo battles with dudes in other neighborhoods, and it's okay. And it was fine until I heard a mashup where they laid those vocals over the drums from Dr. Dre's Deep Cover. And those drums made those verses pop so much harder. Haven't listened to the other one since. I'm happy with the mashup. So I want to thank the Professor MJ at the Professor MJ down at KABF in Little Rock, Arkansas. Because his last episode they did down there, they kicked off with Biggie's Party and Bullshit, which, by the way, the album original, this is one where the album original is not fired, in my opinion. But this mashup was thrilling because they took those rhymes and they synced them up with that really sharp break beat from Know the Ledge by Eric B. and Rakim. Take a listen.
Yeah, 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 and you don't stop, and you won't stop, and you don't stop. I was a terror since the public school era. Bathroom passes, cutting classes, squeezing asses. Smoking blunts was a daily routine since 13. A chubby nigga on the scene.
Oh my God, that just cooks. Oh, here's another one I just thought of in terms of the remix. So many episodes ago, I featured the Free Zone remix of Root Down by the Beastie Boys. I never liked the album version that much. The Free Zone remix is amazing. Listen to that and tell me it doesn't make their rhymes sound stronger. Tell me I'm wrong. It's just a better song. It's so much better that you don't need the first one. Little pitter-patty sounding song. Whoever did that Free Zone remix deserves like some kind of presidential award or a ceremony or something. But just for fun, let's go back and just hear another scorching selection off the Biggie, Eric B. and Rakim matchup. All right?
Honeys wanna chat, but all we wanna know is where the party at. And can I bring my gas? If not, I hope I don't get shot. Better throw my vest on my chest, cause niggas is a mess. It don't take nothing but front for me to start something. Bucking and bucking at niggas like I was duck hunting. Dumbing out just me and my crew, cause all we wanna do is, yeah, bullshit and party, bullshit and party, bullshit and party, bullshit.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Professor, for putting me on to another winner. By the way, if you want to hear a great radio show that blends really some of the most artistic and worthy of cuts being released today, paired with really gems from the crates from the past few decades, Professor Mike knows what he's doing. KABF down in Little Rock, Arkansas. And I always mess up the name of his show. I'm sorry, Mike, I'm not even drunk, and I did it again. It's the old school, new school, need to know. Anyway, sit in class and listen to the prof. It'll teach you things. The show takes me places. And this track section has also taken us to the end of this episode. Once again, I'm the great unclean one, saying, really appreciate you hitting play or downloading this, whoever you are out there. And, until next time, may you fight long and well.